This was a question asked by Alan Turing in 1950. We might know him as the English mathematician and crypto scientist, the one who cracked the Enigma code in the Second World War. Some of us might know him from being portrayed by Benedict Cumberbatch in a movie a few years ago. And he asked this question a few years before he passed away, and his question stayed unanswered for quite a while. His question was whether there could be a machine in the foreseeable future that a human could not distinguish from another human, i.e. whether interacting in written format with that machine, a human would be able to tell that he or she is talking to a machine. It took a little over 60 years for a machine to finally pass the Turing test. And oh, how things have changed in those 60 years. Right now, the question is no longer whether machines will change the way we work and live. The question is, how can we work with that? How can we adapt to that as humans? My name is Andrei Popescu, and I'm a trainer with Dale Carnegie. And thank you very much for joining us this morning. Besides being the, as Colin very well put it, the only thing that's standing between you and the coffee break, it will be my pleasure to invite you to explore a little bit this topic. And I realize that there could be a question mark here, because, well, Dale Carnegie is a training organization. We've been training people for the last 100 years. We were founded in 1912. And I have to say, when I first found out that my colleagues in our thought leadership department decided to investigate this partnership of AI and humans, I wanted to make sure that they're not planning for us trainers to also start training AI. Unfortunately, it's not going to happen. We're still going to be training people in the future. But the question is, how can we go through this? How can we make it through this revolution? Because I wanted to put this in the context of our topic, of our theme of the conference. And taking a page from Richard Perron's book, Evolution or Revolution, I could add the word R, because we are going through a fourth revolution. Everything, all the disruptive technologies that are right now happening, from the Internet of Things to virtual and augmented reality to robotics and to artificial intelligence, is a fourth technological revolution that we're going through. And the good news is, humanity has successfully navigated the first three. We're definitely going to navigate this one with a little bit of forethought. So today, I'd like to invite you to explore three things. First of all, what is the impact that technology can have in the way we work and we live? Secondly, the kind of research that Dale Carnegie has done in the last few months worldwide. We started with 11 countries, now we're up to 25, over 5,000 people that we've served, and I'll share that in a moment. And lastly, to consider the implication that it has for us as leaders, as we work with our teams to make sure that our teams successfully navigate this partnership. And to put everything in context, I'll first invite us to watch a short video about how everything started and what are some of the main conclusions before getting into something a little bit more detailed.
Beyond technology, preparing organizations for success in the era of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence refers to IT systems that sense, comprehend, learn, and act much like humans. AI is all around us, and it's changing the way people live and work, promising advances in automation, predictability, and decision-making. It is estimated to contribute about $16 trillion to the global economy in the next 10 years. Consider the impact AI will have on the workplace. According to one study, 60% of all jobs will be at least partially automated by 2030. AI will impact corporate culture and engagement too. 64% of leaders are worried about the effect it will have on their corporate culture. It will change the way we work and the skills required to succeed, creating new opportunities, but also new risks. To achieve success with AI, companies will need people who are agile, confident, and positive. Dale Carnegie surveyed more than 3,500 people across 11 countries and identified barriers to success. Employees are concerned about privacy, fairness, and AI's implication for their jobs. 63% said they are worried about human bias in AI systems. They want to be reassured on the why, what, and how around AI applications. To feel positive about it in their company, 76% of employees said it's important to have a good understanding of AI. And they must be confident they will have the skills to transition into a workplace with AI. 68% believe it is important to gain additional training in order to avoid losing their jobs to AI. Resolve these issues and employees are 3 times more likely to get on board. Look beyond the technology to preparing your team to succeed in the world of AI. To learn more about how to prepare your workforce for artificial intelligence, download our white paper or explore our best-in-class training programs at dalecarnegie.com.
I had a surprise a few weeks ago when I was talking to my 69-year-old mother. And she told me that a friend of hers who used to work for a bank now no longer has a job because of technology that has replaced what she was doing. And I realized that if my mother is aware of the fourth revolution, then that must be something really serious. Now, I realize that it might sound daunting, and some of the milestones that we can expect in the next few years are in a way predictable. For example, by 2027, we can expect, with as few accidents as possible, to have trucking, that is, so the trucking industry to be completely overhauled. And then by 2049, we can have AI writing novels, and best-selling ones too. And of course, it's estimated that we can get our surgery by AI by 2053, and then by the 2060s, it's estimated that AI could surpass humans at all work tasks. Now, this could sound scary, and just to give you a glimpse of the present, any thought what this could be? I realize the title kind of gives it away. This was a painting that was drawn by AI about a year ago, and it was put on auction. And the people who auction it imagined that it might bring somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000 US. Any thoughts on what it might have brought in auction? 100,000, I hear. 1 million. I love that. I should get some AI to do that as well. Well, it's somewhere in between. A little over $500,000 US was paid in auction for someone to acquire this painting. I don't know where it's hanging right now, and whether it's creating motivation for the employees, if it's in a company. But still, it's there, and it's going to happen more and more. Now, in terms of studies that show how our full-time employee hours are going to be impacted, within a decade, in countries that are highly technologized, like Japan and Germany, almost half, or a little over half of the full-time employee hours will be affected. It doesn't mean that the people will get fired. It means that a lot of their jobs will be impacted by this. I realize that right now it might sound like this is a bit of a scare tactic, like I'm trying to frighten someone into something. But like the Chinese have that character in their alphabet, which means problem and opportunity at the same time, this can be a problem and an opportunity. Because we do have an advantage that machines will never be able to have. If we think about 2 ways in which we can interact to each other and to our clients, and we think about our social intelligence, or about our ability to create meaningful relationships, like we heard a little earlier, and we talk about our creative intelligence, our ability to solve problems and to find solutions that others have not thought of, then machines do have an advantage when it comes to physical activity, when it comes to collecting and processing big bulks of data. And at the same time, humans do have an advantage in interacting with various stakeholders, internal or external, in developing and managing people within communities, of course, to apply expertise, so that gut feeling that comes after years, to decision making. And these are things that machines will never be able to apply. Of course, in order for that to happen, we need to contribute in a certain way. We need to plan our contribution, to be aware of how we can bring something of value. For example, what we can do is interpret decisions made by AI. We'll talk about in a second. In some organizations, there's AI that actually begins to perform performance evaluations. So imagine having one's bonus tied to a decision made by artificial intelligence. But humans, to help interpret that and put it in context, is definitely something that we can do. And of course, making sure that there is a certain set of protocols that have values, like the organizational values and the personal values built in, that can avoid bias. And of course, clarity and empathy in communication is something that, especially the empathy part, is something that a machine will never truly be able to come across with. Our ability to create, innovate, and our ability to build relationships and collaborate. Now, to be able to do all of that, there are certain skills that we need to build. And in a minute, I'm actually going to ask you to participate in a very, very short ad hoc study. So in a moment, I'll be asking you to take up your phones, open your, I'm not joking, this is for real. So I'll ask you to take out your phones, open your internet browser, and navigate to a page that is Menti, M-E-N-T-I, menti.com. And I will be asking my colleagues in Technique to show us that Menti page. There we go. So let's go to menti.com. And using the code, there's a 6-digit code on the screen. They're going to ask us the code once we get on that page. And once we get there, there will be one question regarding the soft skills that we find are the most important in dealing with this future partnership with technology. It's going to take us about 45 seconds. It took me about a minute, but I'm a bit slow at these things. It's going to take us about 45 seconds to rank these, well, there will be about 7 of them. So let's take 45 seconds, and as we press submit at the very bottom of that form, we're going to start seeing some answers on the screen. Let's take a minute to do that. Menti, M-E-N-T-I. Interesting. Take another 30 seconds. Some answers are still coming in. We're almost at 400. I'm going to pause here. So this is the kind of results that we get. And thank you very much for pointing out that emotional intelligence is so important. Our ability to control our reactions, first of all, to understand our reactions as we go through various situations, and also our ability to connect and understand the reactions that other people have. And I see that as some more answers are coming in, this is the ranking that we have. Do take a picture of that, because we're going to go back in a moment to the main slides. But this is actually an interesting. Let's see how that compares with the study that we did over the last few months, where we had about, as I said, about 5,000 respondents. So I'll ask my colleagues to go back to the main slide, and these are the answers that we got. Communication skills seem to be more important. And then creativity, critical thinking, and leadership skills. But the one thing I love about this study is that there is one thing coming up next. You might see it in the legend. That what we're seeing right now is what VP level executives deemed important for us to develop in order to be to navigate better this partnership with AI. And then there's a second study where all employees were asked, where have you received training over the last 3 years? And this was the answer. Look at emotional intelligence, our darling, our favorite this morning. So, by the way, training right now can mean lots of things. We have access to so many sources of information. Being in a classroom is one thing, being in a training room. But there's so much that we can do in terms of accessing electronic resources, peer coaching, and any kind of mentorship that we can have in our organizations. And yet, these key critical components have yet to be covered. Now, let's talk a little bit about how artificial intelligence can impact management and leadership. So what kind of actions, what kind of tasks or activities can be safely delegated with maybe some sort of level of human supervision? For example, the fact that a certain degree of coordination on the administration side, or tracking people's productivity, and some say even coaching or performance management and everything that has to do with reward recognition and compensation systems can to a certain degree be delegated to AI. How much humans can actually help with that, or how much supervision from humans? I would say that no final decision should be made on, for example, what kind of coaching program or what kind of compensation package a person should receive without it being vetted according to the company values and an ethical standards that a human can see. And talking about human resources tasks and activities, things that are already being done by certain organizations, the fact that they use AI to source new candidates, the fact that they help use AI with the onboarding process, the fact that they use content management of everything that's training related and create personalized learning paths, as well as assessing and sentiment analysis. I love this. There's an organization in New Zealand which actually uses AI to track the internal chat system using looking for keywords and emojis to figure out what is the overall sentiment of people. And they also track emails, of course, behind an anonymity cloak. They track emails and try to figure out, based on the content and the keywords that those emails contain, what is the level of engagement and the sentiment overall in the organization. So, for all of us, this could sound scary. And I'm going to go to something that might be the scariest of all, which is our paycheck. How much would we accept AI to be involved in our performance evaluation, and therefore in our bonus? So for the second and final time, I'll invite you to pull out your phones, because there's a second question. And I'll ask my colleagues to bring back exactly. So same page, same code, second question, which says, would we trust and accept a performance appraisal conducted by AI? And let's see what the answers are. This is something I'm very curious about. We're at 300. We're going a little faster this time. Thank you very much for making up your mind. This was a question with less clicks, of course. Wow. I have to say, I would have expected a closer parity between yes with criteria transparent and the no. And apparently the yes with criteria transparent is really winning the game. I love this. All right, once we hit 400, we're going to go back. All right, let's go back to the main slide. Thank you very much. So there was the study that we did asked a similar question, and this was the kind of answer that we received. Similar to what we have, somewhere around 62% said yes if the criteria is transparent, and a little over 30% said yes even when criteria is not transparent. Which is something that, you know, it made us wonder when we saw this this particular study, because we thought, why would people do? And once we start thinking about it, once we start thinking about the fact that AI has no beef with anyone, you know, AI is not trying to. The AI does not remember that 2 weeks ago I stole my boss's mug of coffee or whatever, or we had a fight a month ago, and he still remembers that when he or she does my evaluation. AI doesn't have that. But of course, and thank you very much for confirming this, criteria does have to be transparent. So, having seen this, how worried are we that AI will take our job completely? And we love the response to this one, because only around 30%, 35% of people said that they are not at all worried. And then at least moderately worried, some 43%. But the cool thing is that overall, 70% of people are indeed positive about the future. And there's a catch, because that 70% includes the fact that people say, I'm not just happy with that in any kind of way, but something has to happen. And 7 out of 10 people said that in order for me to be more positive about this integration with AI, first of all, we would need to have transparency. And that's something we saw this in our last question as well. The fact that we appreciate that even when it's our money at stake, if there's transparency, I would be able to, I will accept that. So transparency is important. The fact that I trust where my organization is going. Many organizations are like big cruise ships. And if I'm somewhere in the bowels of the ship and I have no idea where the ship is sailing, I might have an issue trusting that what I'm doing actually counts. And finally, I have the skills to transition to this, to the changes and to the new reality that AI is bringing. So, in a minute, I'll ask you to just turn to your partner, either left or right. I'll let you decide that, and take 2 minutes to decide to discuss one thing, and that thing is, in our organizations here in Romania or elsewhere, but especially here, what are some of the challenges, what are some of the barriers that we are facing as we prepare our employees to transition to this new reality, this partnership with AI? So it doesn't have to be a very complex conversation. Let's just make sure that we have these 2 minutes where we share thoughts both left and right, and maybe something interesting would come out. So let's turn to the person next to us, and let's take 2 minutes beginning now. Thank you very much. Go. 2 minutes. And 1 more minute. 1 minute. Twenty seconds. And that's time, everyone. 2 minutes have gone. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Please thank your partner for the thoughts and ideas, and make sure we reconnect during the break if needed. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Now, in the final 3 minutes and 45 seconds, because I've got my little timer handy over here, there's a couple of thoughts we wanted to share with you in terms of what we can do as leaders. And it's not an easy thing to do, but having a human or people-focused perspective whenever we have a conversation about technology is one key element. And then make sure that there's transparency with all the decisions that are being taken in the organization. Of course, making sure that people do trust, and that trust, let's not forget, is difficult to find and very easy to lose. So make sure that that exists, and we keep a finger on our pulse, our team, our organization, to make sure that there is a training strategy that helps people transition, and last but not least, strengthen change management. Because this is something that, we all know the change management stages from, shock and denial and frustration and anger. But still, this is the kind of change that we will be going through, whether we want to or not. Our founder, Mr. Dale Carnegie, and by the way, this is the golden book of the Dale Carnegie principles that you will be finding in your bags on the chair. He actually said some years ago, he said that change is indeed part of life, and we need to keep our mind open to court it. And it's only by examining and re-examining our options that we can progress. He had no idea we're going to face what we're facing right now, and yet how does this quote relate to what we're going through right now? Now, we are here for the rest of the day, and we really want to connect with you as much as possible. So whether you're doing it in purpose, while we're still here at the Dale Carnegie training booth, or you want to reach out to us by email, do that. And for us, it will be really valuable to hear how your organization is dealing with this kind of change, and how all of this relates to you. And I'm going to end up by giving just a little tidbit, if you wish. Here in Romania, we've been partnering with Thomas International Romania for the last 15 years. And Thomas International has created a small quiz. It's just a little insight into how change-prone, how change-oriented are we, and how easily we adapt to change for ourselves and our company. And so if you wish, feel free to scan the QR code, or just type in the little address at the bottom. And this will lead us to a 2-minute quiz that will just give us a glimpse into how we are as change leaders and how our organization deals with change. You can do that now, during the break, or if you wish, we have the technology at our booth, and you can join us, and you can actually do the quiz at our booth during the day. We'll be very happy to welcome you. So thank you very much for your time today. It was a pleasure reconnecting before and right now, to look in so many familiar faces in the room. It was a pleasure to reconnect with so many of you I've seen over the last 15 years as a trainer. And it will be our pleasure to begin this conversation, not about artificial intelligence, but about how we as people, as teams, and as organizations can deal with this transition. Thank you very much.